IDF approves plans for a Lebanon offensive. The head of the IDF Northern Command, Major General Ori Gordon, and head of the Operations Directorate, Major General Oded Basiuk, approved battle plans today, the military says. The IDF, in a statement, says the generals held an assessment during which operational plans for an offensive in Lebanon were approved. Top commanders also made a decision regarding accelerating the readiness of our forces on the ground, the military adds. Yeah, fighting a two-front war is always really cool and not trouble for a dying fascist movement. Famously, fascist movements always pop off when they do that. It's like the meme of the gamblers. 90% of fascists always refuse to engage in a two-front war before winning. That's just how it works. Famously, a third. That's usually what is really successful. So congratulations. Yeah, just wait until you see the Al Jazeera report on your playlist on the Hezbollah surveillance UAV. Pretty crazy. Yeah, when you can't destroy a guerrilla movement resisting against your improper, illegal ethnic cleansing campaign, as you are the belligerent occupier, so it's already illegal for you to do so. When you can't defeat a bunch of orphans with their bathtub rockets that they make in an underground tunnel system, here's what you should do. Go and pick another fight with a much better military, like an actual military with actual rockets, with actual targeting systems, an actual military that you've lost to before, which is kind of crazy. It's like you've already done this before. You've literally done this and you have lost. What the is this? It makes no dang sense. Could you please explain how Israel lost to Hezbollah? I don't know history, and most of the things I've heard is the results of the 2006 war were inconclusive. Okay. Do you think America lost in Vietnam? Do you think America lost in Afghanistan? If the answer to those questions are yes, then Israel, which no longer is in Lebanon, lost in Lebanon. Anyway, Hezbollah has punished drone footage claiming to show surveillance of Haifa.
It's coming out of Lebanon, where Hezbollah has released a video of what it says is undetected drone footage of sensitive military sites in Israel. Now, the group says it shows various locations, including the Israeli city of Haifa and its vital civilian and military installations. Well, we're live in the Jordanian capital, Amman, but first let's head to Beirut and speak to Al Jazeera's Zaina Khoda, who joins us now. And this is an important message that Hezbollah is sending to its arch adversary.
Yes, no doubt. Just one of many messages that the Lebanese armed group has been sending to the Israelis. But this one coming just hours after the U.S. envoy, Amos Hochstein, was in Lebanon, really trying to de-escalate tension.
This is the same exact energy of Palestinian Islamic Jihad snipers sending footage to Israeli generals of Israeli soldiers and like high-ranking military officials inside of Israel in the crosshairs of a Palestinian Islamic Jihad sniper rifle, saying like, we can kill you if we want to. Fuck! Sorry, I'm just like pulling my own cords down here. Oh, and the reality is, it seems that you spreading this information is something that is so underappreciated. Thank you for the consistency and transparency. The retaliation or the reaction from Israel will probably be the same, considering that this also happened today. The head of the IDF Northern Command, Major General Ori Gordon, and head of the Operations Directorate, Major General Oded Basiuk, approved the battle plans today, the military says. The IDF in a statement says the generals held an assessment during which operational plans for an offensive in Lebanon were approved. The top commanders also made decisions regarding accelerating the readiness of the forces on the ground, the military adds.
Along the border. In this video, this 10-minute video, you can see reconnaissance drone images from that drone showing highly sensitive military and civilian infrastructure. So Hezbollah sources telling us that this is a message to the Israelis. First of all, the Israelis have been threatening a wide-scale war. Hezbollah saying we're ready for it. This is Hezbollah also saying that we have intelligence on sensitive military sites. We have our own bank of targets. So really a message to the Israelis as well as the Americans. Part of an ongoing psychological warfare. This is a very different Hezbollah than the Hezbollah during the last war in 2006. It has a very different arsenal, more sophisticated. In the past few weeks, what it has been doing really is slowly unveiling its capabilities to the Israelis. Really part of a deterrence to prevent the Israelis from widening the war of attrition, which is now in its 8th month.
Is going to be unimaginably bloody. They will do exactly what they did to Gaza, to southern Lebanon, as they have done before. Remember, we talked about the Dahiyya doctrine before, which is, again, targeting civilian infrastructure and civilians deliberately and treating the entire area as enemy combatants. It is devastating. On the other hand, it will also be devastating for Israel as well, because the people that they're fighting against is now actually a full-blown military force with significantly better weapons capabilities. I personally think this will backfire on Israel dramatically. I feel as though going after Hezbollah or going into Lebanon and trying to do to Lebanon what Israel has done to Gaza is going to yield tremendous retaliation from a military force that is also backed by Iran, a military force that has targeting capabilities that can hit Israel proper.
Months, a war that was triggered by Israel's war on Gaza.
And you touch on the context there of why we're seeing this footage and why Hezbollah has released it now, Zain. It is all about October the 7th and the events that have...
Lebanese here, I do not support Hezbollah. What they're doing is not reflective of the Lebanese will. I am, of course, pro-Palestine, but I do not want this to escalate. Every time I say this, people accuse me of being fake pro-Palestine. Yeah, because Israel doesn't give a if you're pro-Hezbollah or not. I don't think you understand that. Just like Israel didn't give a when they were doing what they were doing to Gaza, they weren't like making an assessment on whether or not the people that they're killing inside of Gaza are sufficiently pro-Israel or pro-Hamas. Do you understand? Also, saying you're Lebanese and that you're not in agreement with one faction in Lebanese politics is just, you're just repeated that you're Lebanese twice over. I can't think of a moment where Lebanese politics has been united on a singular issue ever, but that's besides the point. There is one uniting principle, is when Israel invades.
Happened afterwards, and what's going on in Lebanon's southern border, which is also Israel's northern border.
Yes, earlier today we heard from the U.S. envoy. He says the situation is serious. He says it's a critical moment and that the Biden administration does not want it to expand, doesn't want the...
Like, what do you guys think this is? Why do you think they're showing that they have the capabilities of filming inside of Israel? It's to say, like, if you go into Lebanon, we will start bombing Israel to a degree that like even your current capabilities will not be able to withstand
conflict to expand. But his message from Lebanon was really to Hamas, telling Hamas, you better accept the US-backed ceasefire proposal that is on the table. Now, when they send a message to Hamas, they're also sending a message to Hezbollah because they're allies. And for the first time, the US is saying that it is, if there is a ceasefire in Gaza, then there could be quiet along the Lebanon front. And this is what Hezbollah has been saying from day one. We will halt the firing if there is a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. But just a few months ago, Houghton came here and said that a ceasefire in Gaza doesn't necessarily mean and automatically there will be quiet on the northern front. So how some are understanding this is that the U.S. is saying, this U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal, Hamas accepting it. Now, this is going to...
Have you seen the internal conflicts about the rabbi law in the legislative committee in Israel? I'm telling you, these Haredi issues might be the thing that bring down the coalition, and no one in international media will have seen it coming. I mean, I haven't seen it. No, I haven't been following up on all of the domestic politics and the Haredi issues inside of Israel.
Be linked to security in Lebanon. So in one way or another, being seen as a veiled threat. So Hezbollah releasing this footage saying we are ready for war. We don't want war, but we are ready for one. So tensions at an all-time high.
Hey, Hasan, way back ago, you mentioned that Hezbollah was reported to be stripped of cash. Do you know it's still the case? Yes, of course. It is still the case. The Lebanese economy is really bad, but that doesn't change the reality that like they still have significantly better weapons capabilities, targeting capabilities in comparison to Hamas and like actual trained fighters that have been, warring in the region. The problem here is like they have the capacity to defend themselves and even go on the offensive to attack Israel and create additional pressure if push comes to shove. It just means that they're not going to be readily available in the same way that like America is, for example, in redeployment and sending a seemingly endless supply of munitions into Israel in the same way that like Hezbollah could do that for Hamas. And make no mistake, I'm not saying that like Israel, I'm not saying that like, Hezbollah will own Israel if Israel chooses to invade Lebanon. I'm not saying that at all, because it will be incredibly bloody, incredibly deadly, no matter what. It's just that unlike in Gaza, it will be deadly for Israel beyond the diaper force individuals that are getting owned inside of the Merkava tanks. It'll be deadly for the Israeli public in general.
In Lebanon.
Dana Codder there for us in Beirut. Thank you. Well, the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting there. So Hamda Salou is joining us now from the Jordanian capital Amman to report on those Israeli lines. Hamda, hi. What reaction, if any, has there been from Israel over this revealed surveillance drone footage from Hezbollah?
Well, no reaction from the Israeli political.
To put this in perspective, Hezbollah brought down an area of the Iron Dome a few weeks ago. Hamas wishes it could do that. Yeah, exactly.
Or security establishment just yet, but this will surely be seen as a wide failure in Israel's aerial defense array.
Now, Elijah Magnier is a military and political analyst, joins us now from Paris. Mr. Magnier, good to have you with us back on the programme again. This is a real coup for Hezbollah to get so deep into Lebanon, apparently, but into Israel. But will worry the Israelis that it did so despite the fact that its defence systems such as the Iron Dome and David Sling didn't seem to be set off.
Thank you for having me. Actually, it's quite embarrassing for a drone that is 1.5 meter long and 2 meters wide to fly over 4 anti-air interception batteries like, as you rightly said, the Iron Dome and David Sling that were supposed to protect one of the most important military industrial complex in Israel, that is a Rafael, extended on 6.5 kilometers, and then go also to Haifa, where we see the picture of all the Israeli Navy and all the vessels, the SAR 5, the other vessels that are deployed there, sending a message that all these are under the target and the bomb of Hezbollah. And then on the side of the picture, we see again a picture of the Fateh 110, that is one of the most precise missiles that Hezbollah and Iran has, and that can hit any target with a very high precision anywhere in Israel. And presenting all that and returning with all these footage and then putting up these at the moment when the U.S. envoy is in Lebanon delivering a message from the Israelis. And the Israelis are saying that they're threatening Lebanon, and they still not understanding that they have no purpose in continuing the war in Gaza is quite significant.
With the politics of exactly what you've just mentioned, I think the other issue we really need to also focus on is really the quality of this technology and the development in Hezbollah's armory of what they've got. If we look at these pictures, this video, it's incredibly clear. It's not crackly or broken up. It gives the impression that what they have is very sophisticated, and therefore how sophisticated Hezbollah's thinking has become since the 2006 war. What should we read into this? Because this is exactly what Israeli analysts will now be trying to fathom.
We have seen picture of these kind of drones even 5 meter distance.
IDF released a statement earlier saying they didn't shoot it down because they knew somehow that it wasn't a threat, and that the debris from shooting it down was more dangerous. Yeah, that's just copium, for the record.
The picture can be even more enhanced, and the reason why is flying over the industry that produce artificial intelligence for all the Israeli military complex, and saying we see every single detail, and then going to a city that 260,000 inhabitants in it, with all the cars moving around, with every single house, saying if you want to expand to phase 2, this is what you're going to be facing, which is the south of the Litani River in Lebanon, and this is where Hezbollah is capable, and saying, well, the Hezbollah you knew in 2006 is no longer the same after 18 years. And this is also a deterrence and psychological warfare that Hezbollah is exerting on the Israelis for Israel to be convinced to stop the war on Gaza.
Is that what's going on here? Because it does really beg the question, if you have such technology and you manage to infiltrate your arch enemy in this particular way, why would you tell them right now, and why would you tell the rest of the world?
General Charles de Gaulle said a long time ago, it is better to show your strength, not to use it. By Hezbollah showing the capability of the drone, showing the rich bank of objective, it is better to avoid the war and stop it now instead of being a destructive war on both sides. So it is telling Israel, if we have to go to the Stone Age, we're going together. So if you are ready for that, Lebanon has been accustomed to that several times and has been destroyed in many areas in previous wars, but you haven't. Now we're ready for it, but we prefer not to go to war unless you insist. And this is where we're going to start hitting you if you go to phase 2 and you want to escalate and enlarge the war.
We'll continue to monitor what is said, both from Lebanon and from Israel in the coming hours. Elijah Magnier, thanks so much for joining us from Paris.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get...
This is BBC News. Warnings of famine are looming once again.
Do I think this will be a successful deterrence measure? No, because I don't think. I mean, this wasn't a successful deterrence measure when Palestinian Islamic Jihad did this too. It's just how it is. And if you think that this was a good deterrence for Israel, like I said, this seems that the deterrence didn't work. The only thing here, I guess, is that, like, I don't know if America has the appetite to back Israel in an invasion of Lebanon. I think there's a legitimate appetite from America. ADL faces Wikipedia ban over reliability concerns on Israel anti-Semitism. Oh my God. What a dub. Hezbollah fires rockets into Israel. Hezbollah is getting more and more ambitious.
On the Israel-Hamas war and the ceasefire talks, this as attacks along Israel's northern border ramp up. Tom Sufi-Burge is in the region for us this morning. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning, Robin. Yeah, a major escalation along Israel's northern border with Lebanon. This morning, Hezbollah firing a mass barrage of 170 rockets into Israel in less than 2 hours. Another 100 rockets fired in late yesterday, too, according to the IDF. Hezbollah, that Iranian-backed group based in Lebanon, saying it retaliated after an Israeli airstrike killed one of its top-ranking commanders. It comes at a key moment for Gaza ceasefire talks. Secretary Blinken in Qatar after Hamas gave its response to a US-backed ceasefire proposal that would free the remaining hostages held in Gaza, including 8 Americans. Hamas demanding stronger assurances for a permanent ceasefire and the full withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Strip. A senior Israeli official accusing Hamas of rejecting the outline of the proposal. Israel saying it will only agree to a permanent ceasefire when it has...
Yeah, this happened after Israel killed a Hezbollah commander, the highest-ranking Hezbollah commander since October 7.
Dismantled Hamas. And guys, back in the north, Hezbollah vowing to continue their attacks if the war in Gaza continues. George?
Real threat of escalation. Okay, Tom, thanks very much.
My Israeli family friends are convinced they can't go back to their family land in Yemen without issue or potential violence. How can I combat that opinion if it's incorrect? Yemen is an active war zone at the moment and is in the throes, or was in the throes, of a genocide and a civil war. So obviously Yemen is probably not the best example of this process, even though, having said that, there is a very famous case of a Yemeni Jew that I have talked about before on this broadcast who escaped, or not escaped, but had his family extracted out of Yemen. And then he went to Israel. He brought like a Torah from Yemen. The Yemeni government said that's our Torah, which I think is lame, by the way. I don't think that it's your Torah. That's ridiculous. Like, come on, dog. He's like one of the 8 remaining Jews in Yemen. Like, that's his Torah. Anyway, took it to Israel, met with Benjamin Netanyahu, looked at Israel and was like, I'm not about this gay shit. Zionism is lame as I don't like this. Take me back to Yemen. And then he went back to Yemen, and I'm pretty sure he's in jail, or was in jail. So you could technically, as a Yemeni Jew, go back to Yemen if you would like to. Whatever happened to that Jewish dude in Afghanistan? What was his name? Zebulon? Was that his name? There's another Afghan Jew as well. As it stands, I believe the Yemeni Jew that I'm talking about is the only remaining Jewish person in Yemen. But yeah, Zebulon left Afghanistan and went to Israel finally. I don't know if he died or not. His story is very funny as well. well, there were 2 Jews in Afghanistan and they fought all the time. And apparently Zebulon, the last remaining one that survived, straight up was put in Taliban prison and they had to let him go because he was too annoying. He just kept starting fights. So the Taliban was like, all right, just go, do your thing. Is this a real story? Yes. There's a documentary on him and his homie. Yeah. Last 2 Afghan Jews fighting each other.
آسان
چند نفر بودن؟ 3 نفر؟ نه 2 نفر.
2 نفر. یکی طبله میزد یکی چی میکرد؟
اما شما گفته که خوب نبودن.
این خلاص.
شما گفته که خوب نبودن. یادتون رفت؟
خب چی کنه ابو صدری نیامد اومد گفت بهش گفتم شما مجله داریم اومد من بهش گفتم گفت خب زولان باز ریزنی کرد زولان گفتی بشه از اون رو شما بیا چرا دو میزنی زولان دیونه شدی چی بلا گپ بدی نگفتم من به تو گفتم صدری میگی بیا صدری میگی بیا اینجا براش تار بزن چی دو میزنی زولان من تو چی گفتم چی گفتم من تو را
Old pimp.
چی میگه من به تک برای تک کپی ندارم اینه دان اینجا شیشه بیادش فرسان کن اگه دان اینجا شیشه بیا فرسان کن این من برای تو شفته
You are just a goy.
زولان دیونه شدی چی بلا من به تو بدی نگفتم دان اینجا شاشته اینجا نان میخوره بیا من به تو گپ بدی نگفتم تو دو میزنی
Debauched goy.
دیگه چی کار داری پدر میگی مرده میگی زن میگی فاش میگی هر چی میخوای میگی چرا بیگناه بشی تقصیر اسرائیلی چی شد افریقی چی شد دوستی رفیقی چی شد من یکی با پدرت کردم با مادرت کردم با برادرت کردم تو که یک بار هم برباد کردی من گویی من نصارا من گابر من ترسات تو خوب او یالا کار من دیگه یالا کار هر چی که تو میگی من هستم چی میگی
I don't know if the translation is accurate, but this is but yeah, they were duking it out quite a bit.